Dr. Holder, Andrea Taylor, Mario Carter, your whole team, the Small Business Association, for this invitation. It's exciting. I love to be connected to the Caribbean. I've worked several years in the Caribbean. I live in the Dominican Republic, which is still in the Caribbean region. And so it's really exciting for me to reconnect to the businesses in the Caribbean. I've worked a lot in the Americas, as you mentioned. So I'm really glad to be here. And definitely, I think it's important for us to think globally from the beginning of our businesses. And the idea of the presentation today is to really talk about what we call, I think, global, more the human aspect of internationalization, because we have so many great organizations in the region and internationally that provide information on how to export, the technical part of it. But you know, when you're exporting, when you're dealing with clients or partners in other countries, you need to understand the human aspect, the communication, the cultural aspect as well. And I've seen it many times, and I still see it now. Some businesses sometimes don't close. There's no results because of the lack of connection, the human connection. Even if the business or the product is good, if the market is available, the connection could make it or break it, right, for the business opportunity. So I think a lot of our focus is going to be a lot on the communication, cultural aspect of internationalization. And I will go a little bit into the detail of some aspect of how to internationalize. I will share my screen if you like. So really, the idea of talking about Think Global is an initiative we created not too long ago, but all of us in our team have over 20 years of experience, as Dr. Holder mentioned, of working internationally, international missions, taking companies to new markets, getting to know working clients in other countries that want to get into the Brazilian market or other markets that we've lived in. We have Raquel Bouchot, who's Brazilian as well, who lives in Toronto. So she actively actually works. She's taking herself. She's part of 2 startups that are expanding in Toronto, and she also welcomes companies that are interested in the Canadian market. Kate Ventura's from Grenada. I've worked with Kate for many years, and she knows a lot of the Caribbean reality, and she's been working with us in terms of identifying opportunities for the Caribbean countries to export to new markets and countries that are interested in entering the Caribbean market. Cleberson Vieira is located in Brazil, in the city of Porto Alegre in the south. Rogério Bon as well in the south of Brazil, and I am located in Rio de Janeiro. And we all have worked internationally for almost 20 years in the different aspects that I mentioned. To begin with, just showing this map to begin with, I wanted to just put it out there to highlight the importance of thinking globally. So you see this map, you see a huge world waiting that can receive your services and products. Obviously, it doesn't have to be emphasized that we don't have to go to all this world. You should not think immediately of touching into presenting your products in every region in the world. Obviously, there's a period where you need to focus market research, identifying what region is really more competitive for your products. But I just wanted to show the map to open your mind, to let you know that yes, you can work in the whole world, especially if you're software oriented. If you work online, you can reach customers anywhere in the world. Why not? Why not? I think it's the first step is the mindset of realizing that you can reach clients everywhere, especially in the situation that we are in this world, having more online interactions, online communication, and online sales. Why not think of Australia as a potential market for your product, for example? I just wanted to highlight again some of the partners we work with. We closely, including the Small Business Association in the Caribbean region. We have some partners in the Brazil, Wine Valley, Instituto Florescer, and the Brazil-Canada Chamber of Commerce and the LATAM Startups are 2 organizations based out of Canada, which are strong partners of ours and that can help companies that are interested in the Canadian market, for example. So we have close relationship with them as well, just as a thought in case you do think of the Canadian market as opportunities. Just to quickly, briefly, Dr. Holder already mentioned Think Global. We work with trainings online and in person. The in-person obviously is limited a little bit more, but we are starting in Brazil to do more in-person training. and online trainings that we've done already in Spanish, English, and Portuguese over the last months. And we're doing mentoring and consulting with companies that are looking to expand to new markets. So are you ready? Are you ready? I ask in terms of your team. Are you ready to go global? What does that mean? Do you have the skills? Do you have the mindset, as I mentioned? Do you already have contacts in other markets? I want to give a lot of examples from my own experience so you can kind of relate to. For example, a few weeks ago, we initiated as Think Global, a conversational Brazilian company that's already established in Brazil. They have clients for several years, but they want to expand. They want to expand globally. For several reasons. I mean, they can find clients that have enough people in their team that can attend to new clients. The currency, the dollar is very strong here. So earning dollars abroad is very good for the business as well. So there are several reasons why they started thinking internationally. But we asked that question, are you ready? What have you done before in terms of thinking of going globally? And we found out, we're initiating a diagnostic and talking to them, but they don't have the English, they don't have the other languages, for example, which might be an obstacle, but it's also not an impediment, because they could always hire somebody in their company that can speak English, for example, or hire someone in a new market that can also speak Portuguese, or that can facilitate. So, but they don't have any of that ready. So, and also they haven't even done market research. They don't know where they would even think of starting to grow to other markets. So it's always the first question is, are you ready? Have you done a little bit of a background analysis or market research of where your products what other markets you could address to present your products and services? So this kind of like self-analysis diagnostic is important in the beginning. And I'll get more in detail afterwards as well, but it's always it's a little bit of experience what we're going through the Brazilian company. They're realizing that they have to, start identifying from zero, where they want to go, what's their vision to go abroad. Of course, it's never a straight line as we think from point A to point B. It's always going to be a curvy line, and that's even running your business in your own country. That's the case. So going abroad. Keep that open-minded. Obviously, it's not going to be. It's not an easy process, but it's also not impossible. So we don't want to keep people having this fear of trying to discover new opportunities abroad. It's possible, and I'm going to share some ideas why. I put the obvious. The obvious must be said. What I mean by that. We all live in our country, in our region, and we think a little bit in our own bubble, so to speak. And when I talk about when you talk to people in other markets, always be very clear and not assume they will understand your reality. So, for example, I've been to the Caribbean, and Digicel, for example, is a big carrier, big telephone carrier in the Caribbean. So, give an example. If you're a company in the Caribbean and you're telling somebody in England or in Norway about your business, and you tell them one of your biggest clients is Digicel. We know, in the Caribbean, it's a big client. It's a big company in the region. But don't assume by saying that the Norwegians will know that how big it is, how important of a client it is to you in the Caribbean. I would always be clear when you present your pitch or your material to your new clients abroad, explaining, for example, that Digicel, or I even mentioned in other examples, the West Indies is one of the top universities in the Caribbean. This is important to highlight, to say it. Be very clear. As one of the best universities, or Digicel, as one of the most important companies in the Caribbean, it's one of our clients. This is important. Just spell it out. Be obvious. That's what I mentioned. Because don't expect people, and I see that I make that mistakes. I used to do that in Brazil too. I mentioned a big Brazilian company that in Brazil everybody knows is a very big company, and wow, how impressive! It's one, but people don't know how big it is if I don't explain it to them very clearly. It's not. There's no credibility. I'm not selling this credibility to the client abroad. So just be very clear when you talk about partners or clients that you have when you're selling yourself, to who they are. Explain to them that Digicel is a big company in the Caribbean, so that gives also more weight and more visibility, more credibility to your company when you're talking to companies abroad as clients or partners. You are your best brand. So remember that. So when you're preparing your pitch, when you're preparing your sales pitch, it's important to present yourself well. And you are your brand. So I'm going to get a little bit more detail a little later in terms of how to present yourself through LinkedIn or other means. But your online presence is important, especially nowadays with the world becoming more online. When you're presenting yourself to potential clients or partners abroad, always remember that selling yourself and your brand is key. You are your brand, so present yourself professionally. That's kind of an obvious, but it's very important because we depend more on the online world, so we need to present ourselves more clearly when we're working abroad now. Languages, it's a little bit obvious, but it's very important. We know, and I've seen a lot of companies not be able to expand globally because, for example, they don't have an English website. I've seen Colombian companies wanting to go to Canada, but they don't even have an English website or English material. It sounds very obvious, but a lot of companies make this mistake. They don't prepare themselves to present themselves in a new market in an appropriate manner. So if you do want to come to Brazil, you should look out to prepare some material in Portuguese. Don't expect the Brazilians to know English well. Don't expect the Colombians to know English well. Obviously, you speaking English in the Caribbean, going to the US or Canada or some European countries is a little easier because they do speak English, but don't limit yourself for business opportunity just because of the language. This can be solved. You can translate, you can work with a partner that can translate your material into another language, or even hire somebody, partner with someone in another that speaks another language. Don't limit your market, your business opportunity just because you don't speak the language. This can be solved. But at the same time, if you are going to a non-speaking market, you need to prepare yourself at least with some material, if not the website as well, in that language. And I've seen this mistake over and over again. I see it in Brazil. People do not prepare themselves. They want to go globally, but they don't have anything in English, and that will close doors. They just won't close. They won't close deals because of that. So just keep these things in mind. Prepare yourself for these aspects. And that's why I wanted to get into communication. I think this is where one of my strong emphasis. I think global, we emphasize this a lot. Communication can make or break even in our own region, our own countries, right? But when you go globally, there's a little bit even more of a challenge because sometimes how we express ourselves is it really how people understand us. I mean, the words we use, the way we express ourselves, is it clear for the other person? So I go back to the point I said before, make it very obvious, very simple, the way you communicate with potential partners abroad. Some of the what's it called, the slang words, the words we use in our own community, our own region, is not going to be understood in other regions. So it's very important to understand that. And I wanted to highlight how we communicate, especially, again, we are in an online world more, where we're in more online events. We are in online business missions, interaction. We're online networking even more and more. So we do need to take this more into consideration. We did before. I think people used to Google us anyway before, but even more now. When we don't have this connection of person to person, which gives a lot of weight when we do business. So LinkedIn, for example, I want to emphasize this, and I can share this with a small business association. We have a little 10-step to-do list we recommend when we do our trainings, and I can share this with all of you who are joining this event, of some suggestions of how to improve your LinkedIn. LinkedIn, because it's one of the most used online social network, professional online social network that people use. And many times people go straight to the LinkedIn to see who you are initially, to see your background. So do work on updating and keeping this, because that's your business card online. Along with your website, your LinkedIn is your business card. It's your CV, it's your professional history. You will receive recommendations through there. It's extremely important. I myself go to LinkedIn as well. I welcome to connect with me, everybody through LinkedIn as well. And LinkedIn opens a lot of doors, a lot of groups that people join. So again, communication channels, your visibility online, you have to really keep it professional, because many countries, I know the US and Canada, people go straight to the LinkedIn to see, who are you? Who's this person in Trinidad that wants to do business with me? They're gonna go and find out a little bit more about you. And so it's very important now even more to have your LinkedIn, your professional profile, more updated and professionally looked with a proper picture and updated information. When I mentioned about what's up, and again, I will share this to-do list suggestions with the SBA team, so they can share with you that we put together in terms of how to prepare your LinkedIn more professionally. When I mentioned about what's up, and I found this several times when I was contacting with companies in Canada, or recommending Brazilian companies that want to do business in Canada, they go in there and they're trying to connect with these people in Canada or the US by WhatsApp. Why is that a challenge? Canada and in the US, they don't use WhatsApp as much as we do in Brazil or Latin America, and I think in the Caribbean as well, because and one of the main factors, and I didn't know this until I was in Canada, the telephone carriers companies, they provide texting for free between people, through the companies. That's great. In Brazil, we don't. They charge. We have limited space to text people. I don't know how it is in the Caribbean, but so in Brazil, we're going to be using our data, and then we have to pay extra if we use WhatsApp, or if we use a texting. So when WhatsApp came, it's just, everybody in Latin America is using. We do business in WhatsApp every day in Brazil because it's free. And we don't. If we use their local carriers, we're going to be paying, and no one's going to be paying that for here. So it's funny because I go to Canada and some people don't even know what WhatsApp was. So why do I bring this up? You as a business, if you are looking for new clients or talking to clients or businesses, understand that they might not, that the preferred channel of communication might not be WhatsApp in Canada or the US. Just keep that in mind. You use it every day, maybe in the Caribbean. I do in Brazil. Every day I'm doing business all over the world with WhatsApp. But keep in mind, and my suggestion is, when you start initial contact with a potential partner or client in Canada, for example, ask them what's the preferred manner of communication. What is a preferred communication? Is it through email? Is it through Skype? You ask that question in the beginning. Excuse me. So that's important. That's important because you don't want to lose business opportunities, communication with international clients because they don't use WhatsApp. It's just part of the getting to know the local realities in other markets. Okay, it's very important. Facebook, Brazil is one of the second or third largest community of Facebook. And I'll give you an example. Sometimes when I reach out to contacts in Brazil by email, it takes them forever to respond. But when I send them a message through Facebook or LinkedIn is very big in Brazil as well, they respond almost immediately because they're using that communication channel a lot more than they are email. Perhaps not even Skype. So these are the things you will get to know in different markets as you go there and you talk to people in the local markets. So these are 3 examples: LinkedIn, WhatsApp, and Facebook. As you discuss with potential clients, you ask them what's the preferred communication channel. That's very important. So how do we evaluate the path taken by a company to think globally? So I wanted to give a little bit of general, and I'll get more details, knowledge of other markets. As I mentioned before, the Brazilian company we're working with, they don't even know where they work with software development. So that's what I mentioned. Software, they can have clients anywhere in the world, but they don't know where the potential clients that they could be outsourced and do services for. So knowledge of other markets, market validation, market research. There's a lot of great material that you can probably find online or different organizations that can provide that for you. And you can do a little bit of research online. So knowledge of other markets that would be appropriate, ideal for your product or service. Perhaps it's Canada, perhaps it's somewhere in Africa or in Asia. So a little bit of preparation is key in the beginning. You don't have to go into too much detail, but you have to have some direction of know what kind of markets would be ideal for your products. Another important part is maturity, business maturity. It's not because you have this vision, or you want to go internationally, that you must go today or tomorrow. And we see this a lot in my experience when Dr. Holder was mentioning that I'm part of a Latam Startups. It's an organization that based out of Toronto that we help not only Latin American startups. Now we're opening it for the whole world. Other emerging companies, startups that want to expand globally through Toronto. And there's many benefits why Canada is a great place to start a business. And that I'm not going to get into too much details, but I'll be glad to share. You can connect with me later and tell you a little bit more about why Canada. But the point is, we have talked to a lot of companies that go through that apply through our program in Latam Startups, and we see that a lot of them are not ready, and we don't accept them in the program. And we don't do that because we don't want to work with them, we don't want to help them, but because it also could be dangerous for their company to expand not at the right moment. Because when you think about it internationally, you want to be at a stage that you might have already a little bit of resources and capital in your company that you might be able to invest, as maybe hiring a local partner there, or doing a business trip, or a sales representative. And we don't want you to invest in this next step of going internationally without having make sure that your company at home is safe financially. So we tell the companies that go to our program that we don't want you to go broke in your company just because you want to come to Canada to expand internationally. So the business maturity is important. Where are you in your business? Are you at the right moment? Do you have enough capital, enough cash, resources to try already to pilot and experience in another market? So obviously take that very seriously into consideration, because you don't want to invest all your money, or even a little bit of your money, without making sure that you're not going to go broke at home, your business. So that's very important, the maturity. And it's okay if it takes time. It's okay. It's a process. There are things you can do initially to feel out the other markets, to see if you can try out a pilot or try a small product or service without jeopardizing your business at home. So the business maturity is important. Resources, I mentioned already. You don't want to be investing so much in hiring perhaps a sales representative in another country, or doing a business trip to like a business trip for networking, without really making sure that you have that capital separated, right? Or hiring someone that speaks Spanish at the moment, or you can hire them part-time, to help you with your business. So these are the things that you have to take into consideration in terms of resources, making sure that you program your budget accordingly. Team, like I mentioned before, you want to come to the Brazilian market, or the Canadian, or the Spanish. Do you have someone that speaks that language? Would you hire a consultant perhaps? Or maybe you have training. Or if you want to go to Canada, maybe you hire somebody, a consultant in Canada, to give you a little bit overview of the market. So, these are things you think about after you know which kind of market you want to hit. You think, what does your team need? Do you really need someone in the other market, or can you train in-house, prepare yourself with the skills in-house to prepare your expansion abroad, correct? Leadership. If you're in any business, if your leadership doesn't have the buy-in, it's going to get hard. It's going to be hard to get into the buy-in to go into another market. So your leadership has to have the buy-in. They have to be involved. I think they have to be involved. I've worked with several companies in Brazil that the leadership is training their directors, their leaders, in terms of thinking internationally. First, before getting the whole company involved and investing money, get the leadership on board first, which is important, obviously, because they make the financial decisions as well. Let's get really quick. I'm not going to go into details. These are things you probably already know, and in terms of expanding businesses, even in your own markets, right? Defining, which is also has to do with your international aspect. Defining a target market, and again, like even my own experience, this can change. I've seen this with a lot of startups and companies we work with that go to Canada. They have a target market in Brazil or Colombia or Chile. When they go to Canada, wow, surprise! The people that are interested in their product or service, it's actually not a similar market, is not similar audience, target market that they work with in their own country. So it's interesting. This is a trial and error. Then, this is kind of when I mentioned the pilot. It's okay to start small, talking to the locals and identify who might be your target market in another country. It might not be the same, which is okay, which is interesting. It might be a premium market. It might be a different kind of demographics. And the customer, market, customer, brand positioning, you might have to change your brand positioning as well. So don't go in with a closed mind. Go with a closed, open mind, knowing that your brand positioning or your selling proposition might be different. What are your marketing channels? Again, like I said, in Brazil, people use WhatsApp for their marketing as well. That might not work in Canada because people don't have WhatsApp. LinkedIn, what kind of marketing would you use? And these are the things that you can learn when you start talking to other people in other markets as well. Financial model. What is it, the financial model that you're going to use? Is it a membership model? Is it through a sales representative? What kind of model? Again, it might not be like the same financial model that you use in your own local market or regional market. But that's okay. That's the idea. That's excitement of going internationally. It could be something different. It could be something that could generate more revenue. Most of you know already the business model. I love it. I love this model. I always do this in the beginning as kind of like a framework, thinking, maybe if you're thinking about internationally, maybe you have a business model for your business already at home. Do a brand new one, thinking internationally. Where would you, what would you be a value proposition abroad? Who's your customer niche? I just threw it out there. I'm sure many of you know this already. And I put there, if you see Canvanizer, it's online. It's a free business model that you can actually play with your team. You can have access to, you can give access to your team. You can play with it instead of having it on paper, and it's online for free. And you can change and add things online. So I just want to share that, the Canvanizer, I've used that tool a lot, and you can even export in Excel. You can work with your team on there online. Just some suggestions of how to expand to international markets. There's many others, but I want to give you some that are more common and that I always recommend and talk with clients. A representative in other markets. When we talk about internationalization, it does not mean, and I wouldn't recommend myself, especially for a smaller business, to open an office in another country. You don't have to open an office in another country. It's more expensive to open an office in another country. I would always work with a local representative. How do you find a local representative? LinkedIn, common contacts that you might have. The Caribbean has a big diaspora in the United States and Canada and in the UK, for example. Just thinking out loud, it's always, and I say this because the Brazilians, they look for the Brazilian diaspora in Florida and Boston and other countries as well. When they start thinking about expanding their businesses, just an example, you can start thinking, do you know anybody in Canada that could be a representative for you? Caribbean contact, or that can connect you with someone locally there. Chamber of Commerce, perhaps. They can direct you some local representatives, or even LinkedIn, networking online. And you network and you get to know them. They can be a local representative. Local representatives can even charge, sometimes they might charge as a consultant, or they might get a percentage of commission. There's different models you can use, different business models as a representative. And it's the easy, I won't say the easiest, but it's the most simple and fastest way of getting to know another market, having someone on the ground to share some insights and how, and maybe you send some samples of your product. They can try it out in the market, or even as a service, they can sell. They can take your brochures. They can make presentations of your business in other markets as a representative. You can do a contract of representatives. I represent some companies, some foreign companies in Brazil, the same model. Partners, I think it goes a little bit more in a legal framework, a partnership between company and company. So that company is your partner local. This is a little bit more, let's say, formalized. I mean, it could be seen as a similar thing, representative and partners. But partners, I think, could be a company that's already established there, and they're just a partner of yours there, and they get a percentage of your sales, or depending on the business model that you define on them. Business missions are very popular. Obviously, in person is a little bit more limited at this moment with the pandemic, but there's a lot of online business missions going on, a lot. I'm sure some of the organizations locally there in the Caribbean, in the regional, or even there's a lot going on. I know Florida, the state of Florida, I have friends who work there, and there's a lot of business missions that they organize for companies that want to expand to Florida. So it's online, a lot of business. There's one company, it's called Enterprise Florida. If you note it down, Enterprise Florida. It's an agency of the state of Florida that presents Florida, opportunities of Florida for companies that want to come to Florida. So they do a lot of networking events, a lot of business events. So that covers the other point I mentioned of networking events. You can do that. A lot of it is free. So take advantage of these things. You can network with people online because we can't be traveling as much, and you have access to a lot of contacts there. This is a great way to get to know potential clients, potential representatives. Highly recommend. There's a lot of things going on right now. Acceleration programs. There's a lot of them that are springing up as well. The LATAM startups where I work is an acceleration program in Canada. There's Startup Chile, that's very famous in Latin America. And the UK, there's a couple as well. So you can do a little bit of research. It's another way to expand. Sometimes the acceleration programs, they ask for equity of your business, or sometimes they ask for a fee. But it's a great way to start validating your products in other markets, because acceleration programs, what they do sometimes, well, many times, they introduce you to their ecosystem, their network. So again, going back to the LATAM startups, which I'm part of, when you get into the Canada, to the program, they give you contacts with lawyers, with investors, with people who know marketing in Canada. So you're part of a program which you might pay, or they take equity, but it saves you a lot of time and energy because they give you a lot of these contacts in one go. So acceleration programs, they are great for international businesses in several countries. I know the US has some, Startup Chile, like I mentioned, and so forth. Internationalization, challenge that exists other than selling. So to speed it up a little bit, because I want to definitely have the question and answer. So communication and cultural aspects. Cultural aspects, very important. So there's a video I want to show, and I'm going to put it in the chat right when I finish, so we can all watch. It's a 2-minute video, so I'm not going to spend it right now. But just to mention a key point, culturally, Latin America, Caribbean, Africa, Asia. I'm just generalizing, but we tend to think more as a society, more as a group. The Americas, US, Canada, some Europeans, they have more of an individualistic way of thinking. And why do I say this? It's important when you prepare your marketing strategy material, when you go to the different markets, it depends a lot on the wording you use. So I want to show this video right in the end really quickly, but I want to just quickly mention, so if you go to Asia and your marketing material, try to position itself as showing the benefit of your product and service as a benefit for the society. So I want to give you an example really quick. Toothpaste. Now, I read this in a book a couple years ago, found it very interesting. A company that sells toothpaste in South Korea, for example, would talk about the toothpaste in their market material or their commercials or their brochures as buy this product because when you use a toothpaste, you will not have you will not jeopardize the people around you, the room. Your breath won't smell bad. It won't jeopardize the people around you. People, you'll make people feel good. Society is okay. The people around you are not going to smell your bad breath. Now, if you go to the United States, the marketing would be use this toothpaste because then your tooth is not going to be rotten. You're not going to lose your teeth. It's going to strengthen yourself. You're going to be more confident. You're going to, you don't have to go to the dentist as much. But it's thinking about you. My tooth is not going to be falling off. It's not going to be rotten. So do you understand the different angle? The mindset of the American, again, I'm generalizing, but the mindset of the American is, I don't want my teeth to fall out. I'm going to use the toothpaste. The mindset of the South Korean is, you're not going to bring bad breath for the people around you. So I want to show you this video right in the end. Very interesting. Quickly, icebreaker. Icebreaker is we all know, all of you are business people. You do have an icebreaker in the beginning. Of course, culturally, it's very different, right? So when you go to the United States and Canada, for example, your icebreaker might be a little bit shorter, more direct. Perhaps mention, in Canada they always talk about the weather. It's freezing. So how's the weather? It's not so cold today. It's not winter. And then you go straight to the point. In the United States as well. Just a quick, short icebreaker, and you go straight. You talk to business, right? I'm sure many of you have experienced that. Back in our countries, and I believe the Caribbean is the same as Brazil, my own country in Latin America, is you really want to get to know the person. People want to do business with people, right? This is anywhere in the world. People want to do business with people, but the relationship building takes a little bit more in Latin America and the Caribbean. So I'll give my own example. When I go travel around South America a lot, I like music, I like sports a lot. So and food. So I know when I go to Colombia, I love the Colombian music. I love the Peruvian food. So and soccer. I love soccer. I love soccer, is football, and we're in Brazil and Latin America. So I know what's going on in the other countries. I bring that up as an icebreaker. Oh, this guy, Shakira launched this new video. I know they love music in Colombia, so I identify something in common with them. So you find something in common with them. We know that icebreaker, but we tend to talk a lot more. So in Latin America, so it's okay. But it's okay to do that, but just keep that in mind. What culture you're dealing with. The Germans, maybe the Americans might be shorter icebreaker, go straight to the point after a little bit of an icebreaker. Just a quick mention, when I go to Trinidad, I've been to Trinidad, when I meet Trinis, we always compare our carnivals because Trinidad has a very famous carnival, one of the best at the Savannah. And I'm from Rio, and we have also very famous carnivals. So we always joke around that which one is the best carnival in the world. That's a little icebreaker that we bring up when I meet with Trinis, right? So this is something that keep in mind. It might sound simple, but it does make a difference. In Brazil, we do talk a lot about family and stuff before getting to business, a lot longer than you would in the US, correct? Finishing up, I just want to put that emphasis about people, trust. This is a research that was done by the Trust Barometer research, that people eventually, they want to connect with other people. And the most important thing is the individual. So the trust, 78% of the people want to do business if they trust you, right? So this kind of ice breaking and connection with the person is more is more relevant than if you start talking about technical things about the business initially or very academic things initially. It's really people want to do business with the person they trust and they know, than just because they have 2 PhDs or they're very technical in an area. So this is very important to get to know. And we always tell startups when I'm a judge in pitching, is you always bet on the team and not always on the product. The product might not do well in the market, but if the team is good, if you trust that team, then you know they can produce other products or business or services for you can create a new business opportunity as long as the team is good. Finalize my final slide is about empathy, and we know that, and I want to emphasize this more during the pandemic that we are living in, that people are working from home, people are at home, they're with children, they're with family responsibilities, and we have to take that in consideration when you do business with people anywhere in the world. So I've worked with people where I know they tell me, listen, Rafael, for these 3 hours during the morning or the afternoon, I'm not going to be available because I have to help my child with their homework, or I have to cook. So empathize with the situation at the moment, even more than anything, because people are working from home and we have to understand that. Stereotypes is important as well. Don't stereotype people. We know, I just give an example that my Colombian friends, I love Colombia, I've been there many times, but I've met business people that say, I'm not going to go to Colombia to do business or not even tourism because they're so violent and there's so much drugs. And that's something that's, 2 decades ago, Colombia was stereotypical. People stereotype that beautiful country like that, and they don't want to do business like that. And it's not like that right now. So I'm sure the Caribbean gets a lot of negative or positive stereotypes, and Brazil as well. But try to avoid that when you're dealing with other countries. Even when the icebreaker, don't try to be careful when you're stereotyping the icebreaker when you're talking about things, because people take it very personal and they might not want to do business with you just because you say something that's incorrect, that's a wrong stereotype. And I've seen that. And so, yeah, we take that into consideration. And again, establish common interests. Always look for positive things. So we all have negative things that happens in our country, in our region. We all do. but always focus on the positive. So when I go to some country, I always identify and highlight the positive things that they have in their country, or yeah, in the market that they have. And that gives already a positive vibe from the beginning when you're connecting someone internationally. So I will stop there because I want to definitely hear from you and talk with you. I don't know, Dr. Holder, if you want to show the video, maybe we can go to question and answer and I can share the video later, but the video gives you a little input of how people, how companies, brands have to take into consideration communication and cultural aspects. So thank you so much again. Sorry for taking so long.
Thank you again to Rafael for your presentation. Lots of information shared. I'm sure my audience will agree with me. Some key takeaways focus on communication. I was particularly interested in this point about, you know, a simple thing of ensuring that you have a website that's in English. You know, we may take that for granted on this side because English is our first language. But if it is that, you know, you have to do business with someone in Latin America, you're looking for, yes, a website that's in English. And we know that the internet is actually in English. That is the language, they say, of the internet is in English. So you must pay attention to something as simple as that. The use of WhatsApp, that's very popular in the Caribbean. We're hearing now in Latin America, but it may not be that popular, for example, in North America. So whereas we're accustomed to using WhatsApp, we're doing business with North America, we want to know, well, what is the popular electronic means of communication there, and pay attention to that. So quite a bit in the area of communication. We took note as well of your points relative to what I call the mode of entry. What is the mode of entry that you're going to choose for a particular jurisdiction? You don't have necessarily to go and set up an office there, and that's an expensive choice anyway. It may very well be to identify strategic partners, to network. You did mention some of these points as possible options that we can consider relative to the mode of entry. And the third takeaway for me was the issue of culture. Now, I quite agree with you that you can have, yes, a very good product, you can be offering a good service, but you're going to understand the culture of the country that you want to do business with. And it's always wise to have some liaison from that particular jurisdiction who can help you to understand culture. Even here in Barbados, I know for a fact that we've been a part of many exercises in the past where persons wanted to come to do business in the Caribbean, and they had to go through some sessions, some sensitization sessions in understanding the cultural nuances of our market. You know, very, very popular for us in Barbados. We hear employees talk about something very simple as saying good morning. We've had experiences with people coming from Europe, and that is not a big part of their culture, but it is for Barbados, and it is for the Caribbean. And you know, you go to a hotel, you go to a restaurant or another business, and you walk in as the new investor, as the new manager, and you don't say good morning. You offend your staff immediately, and to the point where, you know, you get persons up in arms, don't want to work, and the work to rule, and things like that. So culture is a critical part of understanding the market that you want to do business in. So very interesting points there, Rafael. At this time, I want to invite our audience to jot their questions in the chat, post any queries that you have in the chat, and we will definitely have these discussed, have your questions answered. Remember, we're discussing today locally developed global reach, a discussion on exporting your business. And I took note, Rafael, in your point that pay attention to the maturity of of your business. The fact is, you don't have to do it all now, but you want to encourage that persons maybe, develop a strategy, have a strategic goal, a strategic plan, that over the next 5 years, over the next 7 years, over the next 3 years, you want to begin to make some inroads into various markets. And if it is that this is your plan, then you're going to start to put things in place to do so. So pay attention to the maturity of your firm. My first question to you, Rafael, I want to hear your thoughts on the whole notion of born global. I'm not sure if you've heard of this concept. A lot of work has been done on this issue of born global, which suggests that a firm does not have to necessarily produce a good or service for the domestic market, that they can leapfrog that domestic market and go straight to the export market. What are your thoughts on that? And I ask this because I know there are many who feel, well, you should get your feet wet. That's a Bajan parlance. You should get your feet wet in your own market first before you consider exporting. What are your thoughts on the born global concept?
No, great. Thank you, Dr. Holder. What I would say first is it depends what industry, what service product that you have. For example, countries like Israel, Chile, they are born, the country and all the ecosystem, they encourage the companies to already be born global, like you said. Why? Because of the size of their market. They need to already think globally from day one when they're starting business. But I would be very cautious depending on what business you have. Technology-based, if you're using the internet, if you can do consulting, if it's service-based, I think you can start globally. Why not? Especially if you have contacts abroad. But I would be very cautious. I wouldn't say everybody or any kind of business should start thinking that way, because it takes time and energy and effort to get to know another market, to get contacts in another market. And while you're doing that, how are you making money if you don't have money coming in from your own company that locally? But especially software companies, I would say yes. Why not? As long as you're prepared. Like I mentioned in some of those slides. Do you have someone that can speak the other language in the other market? Do you have enough capital to, because it's not as soon as you, even this happens in your own markets if you open a business, but it's not because you're going to try to open in Canada or Germany or England that it's going to work in the first day. It's going to be a trial and error phase. It's going to be like, you're going to have a trial. And plus, like I said, your market, your audience that buys your market that buys your product might not be the same from your country. So there's going to be a trial and error period. So make sure you have enough resources to go through this phase of trial and error. So I would say yes, if you have a little bit more of technology based or consulting based. I do consulting services, and my company has all different products, but I could just start looking for clients abroad from day one because it's through Zoom. I can serve them. So my answer is, it depends what business you're in, that you can start born global from the beginning. I would just be cautious, making sure that you're not going to put all your effort and energy unless you have already some resources to cover you while you try the trial and error in the new market, right?
Okay, so in your perspective, it has a lot to do with the type of product,
yeah, absolutely,
that you can possibly consider such a model.
Or product or service, yeah, exactly.
Interesting perspective. All right, I have a comment from Portia Blackman. She quite enjoyed the presentation, but she's querying, will Think Global work with a cluster as well? I didn't get what type of cluster, but what are your views on the concept of clustering as a methodology to export a good or service?
Thank you for the question. Just to be clear, clustering means in this sense, in this context, means working with a group of partners to approach a new market together?
Well, as you know, you can have vertical as well as horizontal type clusters,
Yes.
but I gather that the point is for us here in Barbados in the Caribbean, let's use a very, very popular concept, that of our local condiments. So the ability to bring together, for example, a number of agro-processors producing a particular condiment for the export market, for example, being able to work with that group would be considered a cluster of agro-processors.
No, perfect. Very, very clear. Thank you. No, I think yes, and I think the world is more of an ecosystem. We have to collaborate. It's more collaboration, less competition between partners. But the only thing I would suggest is even though you're in Barbados, you have several different companies providing the cluster. The message to not confuse people abroad. The message there has to be one brand presented abroad. My suggestion. So maybe there's a brand created, there's a message, one communication message presented abroad. The client abroad, let's say he is receiving a portfolio of products that comes from this cluster. Does he have to know that maybe he can see the list of different partners that are in there, but I think the key is not to confuse the potential partner or client abroad. Having the brand and the message very clear that this is what we're offering, even though there's several players at home that we are providing, we're preparing the product, you will get one product, you will get one message in Canada. So I think the key is the communication of the cluster, to not confuse the potential client abroad. As a client, I would be like, do I really need to know all the players that are in Barbados that are part of this cluster? Perhaps not. I want to see the final product. I just make it clear what you're presenting me is what I need, what I want. I don't really need to know all the details there. So at working as a cluster, having a clear message communication to the client or partner abroad is the way that I would do it. But absolutely, I think I encourage more partnerships. For example, Think Global, we're created by 4 professionals that have our other companies and other things that we do. But as a team, we're stronger because of all our networks and all the services we provide. So we're a mini cluster as well in Think Global.
Yes, understood and agreed. And you're quite right. At the end of the day, the consumer in that market want to know what is the product that he or she is buying. Yes, you may have a team of persons, a cluster back home that is involved in producing that particular product. But at the end of the day, it is that single brand that is important. Be it condiments, be it fashion, it could be music. It is a single brand that you want to be able to promote in that particular market, because it is when you get to marketing now, when you look at the whole issue of your brand identity and what's the proposition and so on. It is the brand that the consumer is maybe most attracted to and intrigued by, more so than the partners that may very well be involved in the production of that particular brand. But here's Crystal.
Absolutely.
Crystal is asking, what global market or industry do you believe the Caribbean should focus on more so? What global market or industry do you believe the Caribbean should focus on more so?
Oh, thank you, Crystal. Nice to see you here. It's a very good question, but please don't take my answer as the right answer only. But well, for obvious reasons, because of the English, the connection with the U.S., with Canada, with the Europeans, a lot of European countries speak English, they understand English. But obviously, if you're going to Germany, it's important to prepare material in German. But I'd like to say, and I lived in Florida, and I've been to Canada many times, there's a big diaspora of the Caribbean. If I had my business in the Caribbean, I would start with the US, especially in the big hubs like New York, Florida, Montreal, Toronto, that has a big diaspora of the Caribbean. Why? Why would I say that? There's a connection already there. You have a Caribbean population that live in these places. Again, you don't have to sell to the Caribbean abroad, obviously, but it to try a new market, to try out your international expansion might be an interesting start. You have people that identify, that might know your mark, that your brand, that might already have connection with you. I would start there. And again, these are markets that have high, what's it called, a disposable income, right? So there are people that there's money in these markets. So for you as a business, you don't want to sell to a place that there are less people that with money that can't buy your products. So I would focus on the U.S. and Canada for those reasons. And it's close. It's close by. The time zone is the same. The industries, I don't, the industries better than I know tourism obviously is very strong, but there's a lot of technology stuff that can be produced out of from the Caribbean. You can always provide services in the supply chain of tourism, in the supply chain of other areas that you can produce, that you're producing from the Caribbean. I don't know all the industry in the Caribbean, to be very frank. I know tourism is a strength. I know it's been affected obviously by the pandemic situation, but I think industries where you can do service oriented, where you as a professional can connect with anyone in the world. Now we're in virtual. You can do consulting, you can do mentoring, especially in the tourism area, and technology base. I wish that I hope that our region, Caribbean and Latin America, can get more into IT development, programming. So, that's an area that we should focus on. We have good talent. I think we just have to get more people getting trained as programmers. And that's a trend that I see a lot of companies in the US and Canada outsourcing. Look, Uruguay is a big hub for outsourcing because they speak English. And a lot of young people are getting trained in programming languages, IT, because we know that's where we're all going, this world. So they get a lot of big contracts from companies in the US and Canada. One of their advantages, because they speak English. And most Latin America does not speak English in terms of large proportion. Mexico and Uruguay, I was in Uruguay, I was stunned. The Uber driver, most people in the streets are educated with English. And for Latin America, that's a big deal because we don't have a lot of people who speak English. But they're getting into the programming thing, and they're getting a lot of good contracts because they're getting programmers. They're getting people who know how to work with technology, getting contracts from big companies abroad. It's cheaper for the American company to buy good talent in our region, cheaper than paying for a programmer in the US and Canada, which are very high salary. So that's another area I think we can grow as a region. And it's a good salary for a Caribbean or Latin American programmer. It's still a good salary, still if it's cheaper than it is to a US programmer. So that's just thinking out loud, but I see this happening a lot.
Yeah, okay. Rather interesting response, Rafael. I'm hearing that we need to maximize on the advantage that we have as a Caribbean region. You're suggesting that since we speak English predominantly, and we have our North American, European neighbors, where English is their first language, that can be considered, and we have a pretty big diaspora in all of these markets. But I've taken note, though, recently that many of our Caribbean countries are adopting a different model, where they're trying now to penetrate those markets where we don't have that history. There's no cultural relevance. The English is maybe not even their first language, but because of the size of those markets, they're trying to penetrate those markets. They're establishing embassies and consulates and all that. We take, for example, China. We've seen that many of the Caribbean countries are now trying to tap into that market. Now, what is your opinion on such a strategy with over a billion people in that country, where and the fact that there's really no history between us as a region and that part of the world?
No, absolutely. That's a very valid and important point. And absolutely, my answer would be why not and go for it. Even my own country, Brazil's a big market, and we're closer to the Caribbean as well. But obviously, China. Yes, yes, yes. Don't limit yourself. To that's why I showed it. The first slide was a map of the world, that we cannot limit ourselves from the beginning. But obviously, so as I try to explain in my presentation, of course, these new markets, it should be examined, it should be pursued, but obviously you have to be prepared. So China, I know they do a lot of business in Brazil. We have a lot of difficulties with the language, right? So they do learn some English. We even the communication is challenging Brazil and China, but having this common ground, so having a local Chinese that can help you, I think it's very important. And I've spoken to companies that have done business in China. China is definitely someone on the ground is essential, not only because of the language. So there are people that are learning English. There are people that speak English in China. Obviously, it's not but it's very important that you have a local person. China is not easy to do business with China. Is it worth it? Absolutely worth it because of the size. India, India is very interesting. India, has hundreds of languages in China, in India, hundreds, maybe thousands, but hundreds of dialects and languages. But the language of business is English. People you can speak Punjabi and some other local languages, but when they're talking in business, they do it in English. So already a huge barrier is overcome, and it's a huge market as well. But China, absolutely, as long as you have some of those points I mentioned, you have the team ready, you have a local person, you might have someone locally in your country, your company that speaks Chinese, fantastic. Or if you don't, I would work with the embassies, and you brought up a very important point, which I did not include my presentation, which I will include in the future. And I've done this for my business, Dr. Holder, is embassy and consulates abroad. A lot of people don't know that this is a huge resource. I have, for my own business, I have followed up with Brazilian embassies in several countries, because a lot of companies, let's say the Chinese companies that wanted to do business in the Caribbean, let's say in Barbados, they will approach, this happens, but people don't realize this. They go to the Barbadian embassy or consulate and say, where do I start? I want to do business. A lot of these consulates, they're there for representation. So a lot of companies have a database where they will have companies in Barbados register there. You can do this. I assume Brazilians, we do. I register my own company in the Brazilian embassy in Mexico City. So the Mexicans, when they receive the Mexican companies to the Brazilian embassy, saying, who can I talk to about doing this business in Brazil? There's a list of companies. The embassy does not do business, they facilitate. So absolutely, it's an important point, and it's usually filtered. So the embassy of Barbados knows that this company in China is a serious company. They filter, they did due diligence, and they start connecting. So that's another area of connection. Very good point, which I will include in my PowerPoint next time. So yes, you can go through these mediums, but to answer your question in short, be prepared. Be prepared. If you're going to do business in China, why not hire someone to translate your business in your business website in Chinese? It's possible. You might not have to do it. You might not know how to do it Chinese, but you hire someone that does it, and have a local representative that can be your contact. So absolutely you can do it. When I mentioned the U.S. and Canada, there's less obstacles, obviously, but the market in China is definitely worth it. In Brazil as well. Why not Brazil? Yes, go for it. But there's a little bit more steps to get ready for your team and company to get ready with. But it shouldn't be impossible. It's not impossible. So, sorry, a long answer to your excellent question. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Your response is go for it. Appreciate that the processes may be a bit more involved because of the differences in the two markets, but it is a bigger market. India, China, these are much bigger markets that we can consider. It may be a little costlier to get the product into those markets, but it is a bigger market.
And you could also sell these products at a premium price. So it could work out margin wise. It is further more cost logistically, but it could be a premium product in these markets. So it'll balance out and you can still make a profit.
Yeah. Okay, interesting. Now I'm concerned about this. That's the question, because as I said, I've been monitoring, and I've taken note that many of our Caribbean countries are now trying to adopt this as a strategy to internationalize the private sector. They're not getting the uptake as they would like, I'll admit, but setting up the consulates and so on in these countries where there's no affinity to our private sector here, vis-a-vis culture, language, and so on, and therefore it will take a bit more to be able to get your private sector interested in those markets.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. The time is rapidly going. Rafael, the saying is time tends to fly when you're having fun. We've actually exceeded our time, but it's been such an interesting discussion. I've taken note that our participants are still with us, and they're definitely enjoying the conversation. I will say to them though that in the event that you miss any aspect of the presentation, fear not. All of our webinars are available on our website, SBA TV, on our website, www.sba.bb. You can go there and you can watch any of the webinars for any of the preceding months, which includes the presentations as well. And if it is that you've listened and you heard something of interest and you want to be able to follow up with Rafael and the team from Think Global in Brazil as well as Canada, you think that you have a business that you want to begin to position for any of these markets, please let us know at the Small Business Association so we can facilitate that contact for you. As I mentioned at the very beginning, this has been a continuation of that conversation started during Small Business Week last month, where we had the Think Global team with us, really exploring this whole issue of thinking global, going beyond your domestic space. Please remember to go to the chat now and click on our link. There's a feedback link there where we have posted just a few questions. I believe maybe just 4 or 5 questions that we're asking you to please provide the answers for us. Give us that feedback. It helps in our evaluation of our session. So please take a few moments and complete that evaluation exercise for us before we bring our session to a close. So, Rafael, you did mention a video.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Holder. I posted right now on the chat the video where you can look at it carefully later. It talks about Coca-Cola and how it presented its prepared commercials in 2 different markets. And you can take you can observe how the approach is very different. One is community-based and one is individual-based. And I'll let you look at it. It's very interesting. Coca-Cola, we all know, so it's very interesting how they approach the same product in different markets. I wanted to thank you, Dr. Holder, your whole team, fantastic support. Always a pleasure to connect with all of you. We're open to continue the dialogue, work with you guys as well in finding ways how we can help small businesses in our region continue growing, looking for markets. That's what we have to do. We have to help each other out. The market is global, but we just have to do it in a organized, proper fashion, and don't be afraid, to look for new markets that do exist for your products. Thank you so much. Thanks for everything. It was a pleasure.
Thank you too, Rafael. And colleagues, please go to the chat. You see the link is there posted for that video. That video Rafael mentioned is with Coca-Cola, a very popular soda brand in our market, and the strategies that this brand use with two different markets, appreciating the cultural differences and so on, and how they're able to position this one brand that we know, but for different markets. Click on the link and please download the video, and you can watch it at your leisure. Compliments of Rafael. Rafael, we give you thanks.
Thank you. I wanted to also give a quick thank you to Akeda Venture. She's my colleague I've worked with for many, many years. And I want to bring a point that you mentioned, cultural difference. I've worked in the Caribbean on several projects in the past, but I've been able to do it because I've worked with Akeda, because she knows, she's from Grenada, she knows the region, she's traveled all over. And that's how we were able to execute our projects in the Caribbean, because she guided us with the local cultural insights. So thank you, Akeda, as well, for being here and for your help always, and partnership. Yes, thank you so much, everyone.
Yes, we thank Akeda. Akeda is from Grenada. I'm not sure if she's on the call, but we thank Akeda as well for making this contact. Colleagues, again, thank you for joining us for this, our October webinar. As we continue our information sessions, please stay tuned for the next event to be held in November and also in December, as we bring a close to this year's activities within the information series. So once again, please click on the link, complete the evaluation, very short evaluation tool. Let us know your thoughts on our session today. Also, download the video on Coca-Cola and the strategies used for varying markets with the same brand. And you can watch at your leisure. So once again, thank you for joining us today. It has been a pleasure. Rafael, thank you as well. If I know anything about Brazil, you're experiencing the same weather as we are here, so it is a little warm on the outside, but we are thankful nonetheless. God bless you all. Please do continue to be safe and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye for now.
Thank you very much.